Hello again and welcome to the Warhammer 40K Imperial Guard Tactics video. So before we get into today's video, I want to say a huge thank you to Nick Martin for sending in some pictures of his Valhallan Ice Warriors. Now the really interesting thing about these models is that Nick has sculpted them himself out of milliput, which is kind of like green stuff except for way cheaper and really good. I've used milliput in the past and it's really decent stuff. And yeah, Nick has sculpted these himself. He's made them out of their milliput copies. So absolutely fantastic effort here, Nick. You know, I genuinely, you can tell the difference, but not from a distance. You know, you have to take a good look at them to really be able to tell the difference. So really good job there, Nick. Absolutely fantastic. By the way, Nick has a YouTube channel himself called Wargamer Nick. I'll try and remember to put a link down in the description, but if not, just search it in YouTube. It'll be one of the first things that comes up. And Nick does a few tactics videos and has also gone through stage by stage what he did to make these this army as well. So if you're interested in that, go and check his channel out. If anyone else has got any cool picture they'd like to send in to me that I can use in some videos or just take a look at, please post on my Facebook page. There will be a link down in the description below. So without further ado, let's take a look at today's tactics video. Now, again, we're going to be taking a look at guardification of the Genestealer cult. And I really like what one viewer said in my last video, which was, the Genestealer cult think they've been infiltrating the Guard. Ha! They've got it wrong. The Guard are infiltrating the Genestealer cult, because these tactics genuinely are Guard tactics that you're able to apply very effectively through the Genestealer cult, and the cult does give us some really interesting options for running essentially new regiment types. So, what am I going to be talking about today? In a nutshell, guys, we're going to be talking about power armoured infantry. Now, I know that would have tickled your fancy. Oh, but how can you make Guardsmen essentially power armoured? Well, Inquisitor, I will tell you. General, Guardsmen, I will tell you. So last time we took a look at the Hive Cult regiment and sort of determined how these guys you can stack so many buffs on them, and we're going to be looking at another cult creed that can do a similar thing. We're going to be looking at the Rusted Claw. Now, the cult creed for these guys is really interesting. It's called Nomadic Survivalists. When making saving throws, excluding invulnerable saving throws, which doesn't really matter for a guardsman, for a model with this cult creed, add 1 to the result if this weapon being used to make the attack has an armor penetration characteristic of 0 or -1. And there's another bit. In addition, biker models with this cult creed do not suffer the penalty to the hit rolls for moving and shooting heavy weapons or for advancing and shooting assault weapons. Now that is very interesting. The first part is the one we're really going to be focusing on. That's where we can get Guardsman equivalent models with a 3+ save. Because think about it, guys. If someone shoots you with, I don't know, bolters, for example, probably one of the most common small arms that is used on the 40k tabletop, especially now considering the beta bolter rules been coming into effect, guys. You know, people have been running a lot more Marines. It's definitely worth consideration. And you know, Deathwatch love their storm bolters, and Deathwatch either can shoot -1 AP ammo at you, which you'll essentially cancel out, or typically the instinct for a Deathwatch player would be to fire the 2+ to wound ammunition against you, so we could get as many wounds in you as possible, which ordinarily would cut through your 5+ save very nicely, just by stacking so many wounds onto you. But against these guys, not so much. Now, of course, the Deathwatch player could crank out the Kraken rounds at AP -2, but he's then only wounding you on 3s. On 3. So he's putting a lot less wounds against you. So consider that. But in general, think of the vast majority of small arms that armies use are AP -0, and the most common anti-infantry heavy weapons are things like heavy bolters, are things like assault cannons. Those things are AP -1, which you essentially cancel out. Because if someone shoots, you've got a neophyte, he's got a 5+ save. If someone shoots an AP -1 weapon at you, you add 1 to the result, but they -1 to the result, so it stays at a 5+, which is good. If someone shoots a bolter at you, you're on a 4+, so you basically get carapace armor against things like bolters, pulse rifles, all that kind of stuff. Now, some of you are saying, yes, but that's not power armor. And yeah, that's right, it's not. But what about taking into account that this stacks with cover? This isn't you count as being cover when you're not. No. And this isn't, this is in addition to your cover save. Now, initially, when I first looked at this, I thought, oh, well, this would be quite cool because you could ambush your guys underground. You could ambush them into cover, and then you'll be getting 3-up save and cover. That's great. And then it sort of occurred to me, well, you're going to be running like 10, 20-man blobs of neophytes. You're going to struggle to get every single model in cover, and especially if you're running like a proper neophyte bomb, which is, as we discussed in the Hive Cult video, there's 50-60 neophytes. You're not going to get all of those in cover, so you're not really going to get advantage of your trait. Well, not going to get super advantage of it. You want to be stacking cover and this bonus. That's what you want to be doing. Now, the reason that is what you want to be doing is because a 4+ save, guys, isn't that great. Think about it this way. How difficult have you ever found it to kill regular Skitarii? The answer, not very. How difficult has your opponent ever found it to kill your Stormtroopers? Again, the answer, not very. How difficult have you ever found it to kill Fire Warriors out in the open? Again, not really. But how much more annoying was it dealing with those Skitarii when they had Shroud Sarmoth and they had a 3-up save? How much more annoying was it when all those Fire Warriors were just stacked up in a ruin and suddenly they've got a 3-up save? Well, you know what? Now we can do that shit. But the best thing is that we can take big squads. But again, like I said, if you try and ambush these guys in, you're going to struggle. So how do you take advantage of this? How do you guardify this regiment? The answer, as I would like to thank one of my commenters in my last video for pointing this out, is the Aegis defense line. That's right, guys. Aegis defense line. For 75 points, you get a big old bit of wall that I have used innumerable times across many editions of 40k to essentially create a fortress in my own deployment zone. Because what you'll tend to find in deployment zone is you'll have like 2 big bits of cover, but what the Aegis does is essentially it's a wall you get to place down, guys. And any units that are within 1 inch of the Aegis defense line, or 2 inches, basically if you're behind it, if you're manning the Aegis, shall we say, if you're manning the trench line, gets the benefit of cover. And it's a big long wall. It can cover a good part. I'd say roughly a third of your deployment zone if you're playing Dawn of War, for example. So it's a good chunk of deployment zone this thing can link up. So what you'll tend to find is you'll be able to link like a couple of bits of cover together with the Aegis defense line. So you've got this huge block of cover that you can take advantage of. And suddenly, guys, you think, well, hang on. You've got this big wall. You can slap down 60, if not more, cultists, neophyte hybrids behind this wall. And then don't forget, you can still take your 2 mining lasers. You can still take your heavy stubbers, your grenade launchers. You still take these weapons on your neophytes. And they've all got decent range. 24-inch range is nothing to sneeze at. It's nothing to turn your nose. About 24-inch range is all right. It's decent. I mean, think about it this way. The Scion hotshot volley gun firebase is a 24-inch range when you're using all your hotshot volley guns. That gets the job done. easily. And there's always going to be times when you need screening, and you need the ability to protect your other fire support assets. I mean, if we're doing this as guardified, you're going to have Leman Russes, you're going to have Basilisks, you're going to have fire support units. So there you go, guys. Suddenly, you stack 100 infantry, which, may I point out, is only going to cost you 500 points. You stack 100 infantry behind, or maybe that's a bit much. You might struggle to get them all behind the wall. But you stack between 60 and 100 infantry behind this wall. Throw in a few heavy weapons. Maybe keep these guys on anti-infantry duty. Throw in some heavy stubbers, some grenade launchers. So it's only 10 points to add 2 heavy stubbers and 2 grenade launchers to a near-fire hybrid squad. It's not a lot. You can throw in an Acolyte Icon Ward and give them all 6 up, feel no pain. And again, don't forget, guys, that sweet, sweet Jackal Alphas, who's the cornerstone to making a decent cult shooting list. You can give these guys +1 to hit. If you've got big squads of 20, you can easily conga line it. So there you go, guys. It's not too complicated, really. It's like I would call this the Rusted Claw Firebase. And how I would build my Rusted Claw Firebase is I would take into account that these guys are going to be quite tough to shift. So I'd take something. I'd probably balance it. I wouldn't take loads of 20-man squads, and I wouldn't take loads of 10-man squads. I'd balance it in between the two. I think I'd take just some 15-man units. I think I'd take a fire base. I think I'd take a battalion. So how I'd do it is I'd probably take. Well, let's work out how many points it is. I'd probably take 75 infantry. I'd take 5 squads of 15. Or I'd take about 5 squads of 15, because then you've got a bit more bodies manning the line. It allows you to conga line a bit more effectively, so you can keep everyone in range of your buff. So I'd take 5 squads of 15 guys. I'd probably give them heavy stubbers and grenade launchers. I'd stick them behind an 8 defense line, and I'd have an Acolyte Icon Wall, a Jackal Alphas, and I'd probably even consider a Patriarch, genuinely. Because whilst you might think, it's a bit of a waste, the Patriarch, he's going to have to be your Warlord. So, with that in mind, it means he keeps him safe. You don't want to be giving up Warlord point. Yeah, and he can make everyone fearless, so it makes that firebase really, really durable. So suddenly you've got a load of guys who've got a 3-up save with a 6-up feel no pain, hitting on 3s. Nice little firebase. Won't cost you too many points. I mean, if we work that out, it's 85 points for each one of those squads. You've got 5 of those squads. Add in your Patriarch. Add in your Jackal Alphas, and add in your Acolyte Icon Ward. And you don't even need the Acolyte Icon Ward. That's just a Brucey bonus. 673 points. Oh, don't forget your actual 8 defense line. So 750 points. So it's pretty that's pretty decent to have 75 bodies, and you've got 10 special weapons, 10 heavy weapons in there. You're hitting on 3s, and you've got a 6-up feel no pain. Now you could, if you were thinking that's a little pricey, you could drop the Patriarch quite easily, because you're going to be on leadership 8 rerollable thanks to your Icon Ward anyway. So you could do that instead. If that was if you wanted to save points, you could shave off 125 points right there. So that's or vice versa. If you're not that bothered about the 6-up feel no pain, if you think that the 3+ save is enough, you could take just the get rid of the Acolyte Icon Ward. But what I'm saying is you can make it effectively Guardsmen with a 3-up save, which is really, really good. And think about it this way, guys. How many times has it saved your ass when you've had a unit on an objective, which this is when you're playing guard, that you've been able to get into cover and then also throw take cover on, and suddenly the enemy's dealing with a 3+ save unit of Guardsmen. It's really powerful. You can pretty much do that, but instead of doing it on one unit, like in the Imperial Guard, you can do it on nearly your whole army. And this is just, the Rusted Claw Firebase is just one way of doing it. There's nothing stopping you from taking a 15-man squad and using them as objective grabbers. And you put them underground, you deep strike them in onto an objective that's within cover. When you're placing objectives down, try and get them within cover, and suddenly the enemy's got to try and chew through 15 guys, which have all got a 3-up save. There's multiple ways you can leverage this. So there you go, guys. Rusted, not as in depth as the Hive Cult one, because I don't think, if I'm being honest, I don't think you can really build a whole army around this. I think if you were to go, and use this in your army, and you're going to go pure infantry Dreamstealer cult, I think you would put about 1,000 points into this firebase, right? And I'd do something along the lines of taking one of these firebases and adding a few ridge runners to it, and spending about 1,000 points on this. And then the other 1,000 points you can spend on deep striking stuff. But you want to be spent, if you want to think about it, I would have the fire support section potentially as Rusted Claw, because you're able to create a fire base which can give you long range support, whilst your Hive Cult blobs that we talked about in the previous video deep strike in, and they do all the reroll 1s and all the hitting on 3s and potentially hitting on 2s. That's what they can do. And you use these two cults together. I think that could be really powerful. I mean, put it this way, guys. You could take, and I don't know the points value for this right away, but you could take something like, you could take a Rusted Claw battalion with some of these infantry squads. You just keep them cheap. You put them behind the Aegis. Good times. And then you take a Hive Cult battalion, as discussed, and you take another 60 neophytes, and you use those to deep strike in with the Patriarch, with the Hive Cult Wall Trade. That's another 600 points. So this is a 600 point firebase. That's a 600 point firebase or deep strike in. Roughly spend 1,200 points on it, and then the third part of your army could be a Supreme Command detachment for the Guard. Plop yourself in 3 tank commanders. Why not? Get yourself a couple of Tempesta Primes. Why not? Suddenly, get, maybe even just one Tempesta Prime, and then take yourself a couple of Brood Brother squad, 21 Brood Brother squads that you can deep strike in and order first rank fire, second rank fire. So suddenly you've got 3 Lehman Russes, tank commanders, kitted out. They can order themselves. So you've got 3 Lehman Russ tank commanders hitting on 3s, rolling 1s. We like that. You've got 75 infantry, all the 3-up save, with lots of anti-infantry capability, heavy stubborns, grenade launchers, screening, hitting on 3s. You've got 60 infantry potentially popping up, hitting on 2s possibly, rerolling 1s. That's your Hive Cult. And then you've got another 40, maybe 60 infantry. You can take a Brood Brothers, which you could pop in and first rank fire, second rank fire. And suddenly you've got like 60 infantry in the back line. You've got 60 infantry on one flank, 40 infantry on another flank. And you just pop in up. That's like 160 infantry and 3 Lehman Russes. And loads of special characters, psychic capabilities. That's how I'd include this. So what I'm trying to get you guys to sort of think about is, if you are going to go down this route, how can you leverage your regiments, your cult regiments, in inverted commas, how can you leverage those most effectively? Now, I've got one more of these videos I want to do, guys, talking about. So I would consider Bladed Cog as the 8th regiment. Now, obviously, I've not talked about the bikes here. You could have these guys. You could have loads of bikers running all over the place with the wolf quads, with mining lasers, and then they're not getting any penalties to hit with the heavy weapons. That could be cool. You could do that. But that's sort of getting away from the realms of traditional guard, which is infantry and tanks. So there you go, guys. Tell me what you guys would do. I've thought of combining the Brood Brother bomb with the Hive Cult bomb with the Rusted Claw Firebase. What are you guys thinking? How would you leverage this? Now, there's one other cult creed I'm going to talk about, and we'll talk about that in the next video, which is the Bladed Cog. And I think this is the last of the regiments of these cult creeds that you could get away with using as a guard regiment. That's the last one. But we'll look into those ones next time. So thank you for listening. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Tell me what you think. And of course, I'll see you guys next time.